Lauryn Dickens is still missing. Her whereabouts, a complete mystery.
Dickens' stories about her missing child keep changing. First, she said she gave the baby to a stranger. Unknown female white, 40 to 50 years old.
Cops say Dickens claimed she gave baby Lauryn to the female without knowing who she was or where she lives.
Long story short, baby Lauryn is still missing.
Shakira, where is Lauryn? Do you know?
Don't expect for Shakira Dickens to break down and give a confession. She's cold as ice.
Lead investigators are now seeking the human remains of Lauryn Dickens.
While the search for 10-month-old Lauryn Dickens continues, her mother, Shakira Dickens, faced a judge.
Shakira Dickens now faces a possible death penalty after an indictment has just been handed down, accusing Dickens of first-degree murder.
Who would hand their brand new baby girl over to a complete stranger? But that is the story that was told by Shakira Dickens about her baby Lauryn. She says when motherhood became just too much for her, and mind you, she's already shipped another child off to live with relatives. When motherhood gets to be too much after just a few months, she says the baby's daddy sends someone to take the child to take care of it. That's all she knows. That a white female appears at her door, she hands the baby over, and is never seen again. But tonight, she is indicted for murder. To Jean Casares. What do we know, Jean?
Well, the grand jury returned an indictment not only on aggravated child abuse, aggravated endangerment and neglect of a child, but 2 counts of first-degree murder and false offense report that she lied to authorities.
Give me the facts around the disappearance of the little girl, Nicole Parton. Nicole, investigative reporter, joining us out of Nashville. What happened, Nicole?
Good evening, Nancy. It was back on September the 15th that Shakira Dickens entered into a police precinct and reported that her daughter was missing. She claims that she gave her 9-month-old baby girl to a white female that was sent by the child's father. The father is incarcerated. He refuted that story, said that was absolutely untrue, and of course that's when everything went downhill.
Jane, do we know any more facts, any more details?
She was originally charged with aggravated child abuse and the child neglect or endangerment. A search warrant was executed on her home, her apartment, and a cadaver dog hit on a spot. That's when she was charged with those initial charges, but they've been doing forensic tests on items taken from the apartment. Now we see the indictment. So, Nancy, I think something came back in those forensic tests to link her with the murder of her child.
So, from what you're telling me, they plan to go forward, Jean Casares, without a body.
Yes, and it looks like the first-degree murder charges are felony murder charges, a killing during the commission of aggravated child abuse.
Joining us tonight, a special guest, Arthur Horn. He is the defense attorney for Shakira Dickens, the mother now charged in the murder of her 9-month-old baby girl. Arthur Horn, joining us out of Memphis, Tennessee. Mr. Horn, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me on the show, Nancy.
Mr. Horn, your client has already given at least one statement saying she handed the baby over to a stranger, a female that came to her door that was sent there by the baby's bio dad, who happened to be in jail at the time. But isn't it true, sir, that she had her phone blocked? She was not accepting calls from the jail from the baby's daddy.
That was the testimony of her child's father at the preliminary hearing. Of course, Nancy, as you know, there are other ways to communicate. Inmates get their hands on cell phones, and again, that was his testimony at the preliminary hearing.
Well, you're right about that, Arthur Horn. Arthur Horn is Shakira Dickens' defense attorney, joining us out of Memphis, Tennessee. Yes, they send messages through other people. They're famous for 3 ways. In other words, patching you in. They'll call somebody, and that somebody will patch them into the person they want to talk to. They'll locate them and patch them in. They send letters. You're right. There's more than one way to skin a cat, Arthur Horn. But
I hate that term.
There's still the conundrum that she wants a jury, because she's locked into her statement now, to believe she handed the baby over to a woman she had never met and didn't know.
Well, again, the evidence there's no evidence in this case that proves that there's any injury, serious bodily injury to the child, or there's never been a body produced to show that Lauryn has been murdered.
You know, you're right about that too, Arthur Horn. Have cops, and I assume they have, since there is now a formal indictment, given you discovery? Has the state given you discovery such as the forensic evidence under the law, under our Constitution, as it's construed? They've got to give you all scientific evidence. Do you know what was found in the home, Arthur Horn?
Sure, we haven't received. We're not at that stage in the proceedings. We've had a preliminary hearing. We felt like at the preliminary hearing that was held based on the aggravated child neglect and endangerment charge, we felt like they barely were able to prove probable cause because they were really unable to prove serious bodily injury. Now I find out yesterday that they've indicted her on first-degree murder, and I have not heard any new evidence that the state has received or found.
Now, Arthur Horn, at that preliminary hearing, they put up evidence about what they found in Shakira's home. What did they tell the judge?
What did they tell the judge?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was no evidence produced at that hearing that there was serious bodily injury done to that child.
What evidence, what blood evidence did they find in Shakira, your client's home, is what I'm asking you.
Well, I mean, I think, again, they were going on the assumption that if someone hands off their child to another person, that there's the potential for a young child to have serious bodily injury. And I think that was enough to get probable cause. Again, Nancy, as you know, there's a higher standard if we go to trial. And again, I haven't heard of any new evidence in this case to support a grand jury indictment for first-degree murder.
Well, obviously, the grand jury did have enough evidence to indict it because that was their true bill. They handed down a true bill. And as we all know, Unleash the Lawyers, Ray Giudice, Kirby Clements, Sue Moss, at a preliminary hearing, all you're asking a judge to do is bind it over. You put up a bare bones case, just enough. You don't want to give away your whole case at preliminary hearing, Sue Moss.
Absolutely. She's going to be convicted because of this Zenaida Sharada. It's like a grenada. They're going to be able to prove that this woman doesn't exist, that she never communicated with the baby daddy, and that's going to really turn this jury against her.
What about it, Ray Giudice?
Well, in English, I think the state has a problem. They don't have a crime scene and they don't have a body.
Oh, really, Kirby Clements, with all the blood they found in the home, no crime scene?
Well, that was a good way of doing it in English. I mean, for Sue Moss to do these ridiculous riddles when it involves a child, a baby, a 9-month-old baby, who has been missing, presumed to be killed, and we have an attorney doing riddles. If she wants to do riddles, then she ought to go over to Disney World and play in one of the storytelling adventures that they have in Disney World or Disneyland, and stay off Nancy Grace. She's just aggravating.